Welcome to this episode of Insights on Demand, a thought leadership series where we're talking to marketing leaders at top technology companies about what they're doing to drive growth during this current economic condition. I'm your host, Grant Bentley, Strategic Account Director for InsideUp, a demand generation agency in San Diego, California. Today, my guest is Amisha Gandhi, a consultant to CMOs and previously the Senior Vice President with Tipalti, a high-flying fintech unicorn, and before that, she spent 11 years in marketing for SAP. So, Amisha, it's nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you as well.
Yeah, so let's start our conversation on the things that you've seen changing in the last, let's say, 5 years. You know, we had a pandemic we had to deal with. We all were remote employees in Zoom boxes, it appears. And how did that affect the customer's journey in general, and how do you feel marketers how well are they picking up on the changes that have happened since then?
So, I mean, obviously you said pandemic, right? I think that just caused everyone to think about their customer journey in a much more digital way overnight. We've been saying that for years in marketing, but it just was a forcing function of like, sorry, now you're 100% digital. And either it was everything from events to customer experience to onboarding to even reaching out, doing digital surround sound campaigns now, right? You're not meeting people in person. You're not doing any engagement, right? So doing everything on Zoom, making everything virtual, your language, your messaging, everything has to be a lot more crisper. So there's a huge shift to digital. And now we're going through even a bigger shift right now with ChatGPT, right? So, and other AIs coming up, right? But I think because of the shift to digital, because of the last 5 years, just massive changes, I think marketers have had to become much more than just marketing, and that's like creative and brand and demand gen, but we've become true go-to-market leaders. We're being asked to do a lot more on the business side, and we have to be very data-driven, right? Not just creative and brand, but data-driven. I'm hearing more on when I'm talking to CEOs, what about go-to-market? What's your experience? How you're going to drive revenue? And you're hearing that not just from startups, but also the bigger companies as well. So there's a much deeper focus on GTM as well.
When you think about the sort of partners you're developing with your counterparts at the executive level, this idea of revenue operations, revenue leader comes up a lot as almost a alignment in an organizational sense of the sales and marketing function. So tell me about your experience in working in a revenue management sort of playbook, if you will.
When you're looking at it that way, you're really running a business, right? You're not just running the marketing organization. You're working with the business leaders, working with sales, customer success. You're working with the CEO, and you're really looking at what are we really driving? What is not only your contribution, right? And getting sales what they need to feed them, but then you're also looking at how are you impacting the rest of the customer journey to signature? And then after that, onboarding, customer delight. What are we doing to keep our customers? What are we doing to continually engage them? And that leads to customer advocacy, right? And then upsell marketing, right? So a lot of companies, especially in tech, are product-led growth. So customers have come in, maybe they haven't even spoken to a salesperson or anyone at your company. Now they're a customer. Their business grows. How are you growing with them, right? So I think marketing is not just looking at here, we need to feed sales, but we need to also continue to look at the customer, right? So if you're looking at revenue, you should understand where all the revenue is coming from, what part in the process, whether it's upfront, the upsell, right? And kind of combining all of that and saying, okay, this is where we're contributing. And these are the points in the journey where we are going to actually, the percentage, I've delivered X amount of qualified leads. I've done this much in net new bookings, but this is also where I'm driving revenue for customers as well. So you have to look at the whole picture holistically along with your counterparts to realize what you're essentially on the hook for, but what you're going to actually deliver to the business and what they're delivering. And you have to stay in contact with them so you understand if what you're delivering is actually driving anything, and really understand that data so you can bring it back to your team and then you can execute in the way you really need to.
Talk about the way in which marketers are now seeing the influencers get involved in brand identity and bringing organic traffic to a vendor's website. How important has that become?
I think that can be important. I think, we're all looking for ways to increase organic SEO. We're looking for ways to create, you've created this website. Your website, first of all, should not just be, here's what we do and here's some customer case studies. It should be, you should be measuring your website. You should be understanding what the journey is on your website and the flow of your website and how it's leading to qualified leads or not, what people are clicking on the most. If you have a good holistic view and make it a customer driven, intent journey website, that's the one, you work so hard to get everybody there. Is it actually working? The destination you've created is number one. Number two is ways you're bringing in influencers. Think of how you can not only co-create content. So I think of influencer marketing as for demand gen and for engagement and not just social media or brand. It definitely gives you brand lift. It gives you credibility. It gets more traffic to your website or whatever destination you're trying to get everybody to. But it can also have an impact on your demand gen. If you pick the right influencers, some of them are actually engineers and they're actually doing the work and they really can talk to your customer in a way that, you can, but it's a little bit more credible coming from a third party. And again, they're not selling your product. They're talking about issues and challenges. They understand your persona. They're speaking the right language.
So what sort of new initiatives are you talking to your clients about? Obviously, you did a lot of work inside of these large corporations to move them forward and always be looking at new innovative ideas, 10% of your marketing spend on a pilot, that sort of thing. What sort of stuff are kind of over the horizon that you want to bring to the attention of your clients?
I think everyone is really focused right now because the macroeconomic climate that we have, what do we need to really focus on? Everyone is still focused on growth, but it's not growth at any cost anymore, right? And I think we always have to go back to the basics. We have to look and see. I mean, a lot of things people are asking me, where is the actual fat? Where is the actual, what should I be focused on? Where's the priorities? Are we making the right investments? So it's more about taking a look at everything that folks are doing in demand gen or go to market, figuring out these are things you need and it's helping drive your business. So for some folks, it's, are they using, they're doing long tail keywords and they're spending a lot more. And if they make some readjustments there, if they're, some people aren't doing any kind of A/B testing. Some people, their website doesn't have any customer intent journey. It's just, they put up everything and they're hoping for the best, right? So we have to take a look at everything that they're doing and figure out these are the places where it's closing really well. Here's where the conversions are lower. Why are they lower? Is it because it's a low intent channel? That's what we experience. Fine. How can we make that better? What content is working? What messaging is working? Okay, great. Now we have, here's some gaps in your demand gen. Here's some gaps in your conversions, right? And then, here's how you can have a roadmap to do that. I think that is what people are looking at, right? And it's not just cost cutting for cost cutting's sake. People do have money still. Right. But it's where they want to make that investment. So really looking at, here's a go to market, here's the marketing piece, here's an audit, here's where you are some gaps that are easy and low hanging fruit. Right. And here's where you could not just make cuts, but take your money and reinvest it because you're going to get better ROI out of it.
One final question. How do you balance the idea of a short-term revenue generation with long-term brand development? This is something that most marketing leaders are going to have to deal with. Is there a way to split it out by marketing spend or by some other way of prioritizing how you would strike that balance between those two needs?
I mean, everybody knows their high intent channels are going to close faster, right? So are you doing ABM testing? Are you maximizing and optimizing the channels where you're spending, but those are high intent behavior channels, right? You're looking at that. People are searching. Are you maximizing that? Your website, your website becomes a long-term investment because you have to constantly check it, but your short-term investments are those things, right? And are you optimizing those? Then you look at your long-term investments, your branded searches and everything else and say, how is digital impacting this? What worked for us, in a period of good sort of economic behavior? Let's use that as an indication of where we're going with that. Where do we actually make cuts now that we know is going to impact us a little bit further down the road, but it's okay to cut those things. But here are the 2 or 3 things we need to not just keep the lights on, but invest in, because we know it always helps us. It does impact the short-term investments too. So you have to understand the correlation between your long-term and short-term investments to revenue and what's worked in the past and what will work in the future. And they have to keep measuring that. And if you see anomalies or changes, then you need to make changes because the market's different.
How do you actually balance your professional life with your personal affairs, in these days? Is there something you do to keep the lights on when it comes to your personal life?
You have to be really organization and scheduling. That's what I learned. I have a 12-year-old plays soccer. So it's organization and scheduling, quite frankly. And, you shouldn't just work yourself to death either. I think then you get burned out. I think it's really important to schedule in those activities, whether it's self-care, childcare, time with your family, time with your friends. I think it's really important to have time to decompress and recharge. I start every day with a 10-minute meditation, just a visualization of my day and how it's going to go. And it's peaceful and it's calm, and it really helps set me up for success for that day. So whatever works for you, that really helps you get to that place. It's really important. But then also taking, a lot of people are doing childcare and other things. Schedule it out, and you have to be just well organized, right? And then make sure you're not getting burned out. I think that's really important, especially for the modern marketer.
Be intentional with your life. And I really appreciate the work that you've done in your career to balance your professional activities and also your ability to help others. Because as a woman in tech, there's no lack of challenges out there. But I've been very impressed with your ability to give back to the community. So it's really enjoyable to meet with you and talk with you today.
Really great conversation, Grant. It was really nice talking to you too.
Thank you, Amisha.
Supercharge your sales pipeline with InsideUp. With our in-capture platform driven by predictive AI and our expert team, we deliver pipeline to spend ratios exceeding 7x. Let us be your partner in achieving rapid pipeline growth. Visit www.insideup.com. Let us meet to schedule a meeting.